Mr. Speaker, members, I think we can trust our school districts to make the decisions on the regulations that they'll put on our chaplains. We currently don't do these kind of regulations on our school counselors, and this has in here for the Department of Education to establish regulations, and I want to leave it with the school districts.
Mr. Talarico, for what purpose?
Does the gentleman yield for some questions?
The gentleman yield for questions.
Sure.
The gentleman yields.
Representative Hefner, I want to thank you. You and I have engaged in good faith, thoughtful conversations about this legislation. Consider you a friend and thankful that you've engaged with me on those conversations. I know we agreed on the First Amendment that we added. The Second Amendment you're opposing, and I just want to try to understand why you're opposing it and have that conversation in front of the body. Are you aware of the National School Chaplains Association?
I've heard of them.
They testified in favor of the bill both in the House and in the Senate. Have they helped you at all with this bill?
We had several different people supply input that we talked to. I don't remember those specifically.
Are you aware that the stated purpose of this organization is, quote, to enhance his presence by infiltrating the system and supporting Christians functioning and operating inside the school systems?
I'm not advised. What I'm aware of is that what this bill does is allow school districts to determine whether or not they want to allow chaplains as hired or volunteer personnel.
And I appreciate that that's your purpose. I'm worried about the organizations that may try to take advantage of this, including any organization that's attempting to, quote, infiltrate our public schools. That's
why this bill is permissive and would allow the school boards to establish their own rules.
And that's why a few moments ago we added another amendment that was acceptable to you, which would define what a chaplain is to be in alignment with the Department of Defense standards. Is that correct?
Correct.
And thank you for accepting that amendment. Representative Hefner, do you think we should encourage the infiltration of our public schools?
I think we need to give our school districts every tool that we can in the toolbox with all that we've been experiencing with mental health issues and catastrophes and crises. Our schools need to have every tool available to them, and this is just another tool.
I want to ask about the amendment that's before us, which requires parental consent before a student can meet with a chaplain. I know, Representative Hefner, that you are a champion for parental rights, so I'm just curious why requiring parental consent before a student can meet with a chaplain is not acceptable to you in this legislation.
Well, we currently do not require parental consent for them to meet with school counselors, and again, school districts will be free to establish any kind of rules and regulations regarding how the chaplains would conduct themselves.
Do you believe a chaplain has the same qualifications as a school counselor?
I don't know that they would be performing all of the duties that a school counselor does, but I do believe they're quite qualified to help with life issues and challenges that may be facing our students and teachers. And so I think they'd be more than qualified to fill these roles.
So to be a school counselor in Texas, you have to have a master's degree. Are we requiring that school chaplains have a master's degree in this bill?
I don't believe so.
School counselors have to teach in Texas public schools for 2 years in a classroom before they can be a school counselor. Are we requiring the chaplains teach in a classroom for 2 years before becoming a school chaplain?
In the definition of the chaplains that we had before, chaplains go through extensive training through all kinds of issues that they deal with. And again, like I say, this is permissive. Schools can require what they see fit.
So, Representative Hefner, I agree that some chaplains go through extensive training. As you know, I'm a student currently at Austin Presbyterian Theological Seminary, where I'm studying alongside students who are going to become chaplains in our hospitals and our prisons and our armed forces. They are getting a master's degree in divinity and going through extensive courses in counseling and training for counseling. But I want to clarify that not all chaplains have to go through that type of rigorous training. In fact, I'm looking at the website of the organization I mentioned earlier, National School Chaplains Association. They admit on their website that the training is, quote, minimal. It includes a 48-hour program that's equivalent to 1 college credit. That doesn't sound extensive to me. Does it sound extensive to you, Representative Hefner?
Well, a school could very well require their chaplain to become a board-certified chaplain, and some of the requirements there are essential requirements for certification include endorsement from your faith tradition, a master's degree from accredited theological school, at least 4 units of CPE, post-training, clinical pastoral experience, preparation of clinical materials, and face-to-face appearance before a certification committee. So there again, I want to make sure that we're making it clear that everybody knows that the schools may choose to do this or not, and that they can put whatever rules and regulations in place that they see fit.
So why don't we add to your legislation that chaplains have to meet those high standards before dealing with our students or serving our students in Texas public schools?
Because I think, just to be blunt with you, I think we can trust the school boards to do that right there.
Representative Hefner, part of the amendment that you're opposing would require school chaplains to undergo a background check.
Can you repeat that, Representative Talarico?
Members, please take your conversation outside the rail.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative Hefner, the amendment that you're opposing, my amendment, would require chaplains to undergo a background check, which is required for most of the adults who work in our public school system. Is there a reason that you're opposing that part of the amendment?
Again, I trust my school boards to make those decisions. Your amendment also requires that the Education Commissioner and the TEA establish rules of conduct, and I'd rather see that happen at the local level.
So you don't want to require in your bill that chaplains have to undergo a background check?
I want to leave it to the schools to make those decisions, the school boards.
And just to make sure I'm clear, because we've talked a lot about parental rights, you don't want to mandate that schools have to receive parental consent before...
Representative Talarico, I have full faith and trust in our school boards to put regulations in place that would keep our kids from being exposed to dangerous people.
I appreciate that, Representative Hefner. I think my primary concern is that by not putting these guardrails in this piece of legislation that we're going to add our name to, that will allow organizations like the National School Chaplains Association, whose stated purpose is to infiltrate our system, to take advantage of your legislation and infiltrate our public schools. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.